Welcome to another session of irrigation and hydraulic structures. In the previous class, we have discussed about what is the reservoir, what are the different types of reservoirs, and how a reservoir is selected based on the different selection criteria. And also, we have discussed about what are the different types of storage reservoirs, and also what are the different classifications of storage reservoirs. So this particular classification is categorized based on the purpose the reservoir is serving. So based on that purpose the reservoir is serving, we have discussed so many types of reservoirs. For example, storage reservoir, or it may be also called as conservation reservoir. So the particular purpose of the storage or conservation reservoir is we have to store the water and serve as and when required whenever there are large supplies. In a similar fashion, we have also discussed what is a flood control reservoir. So this flood control reservoir is helpful in controlling the flood whenever there are heavy flood carrying towards the reservoir. So a particular amount of water is stored in the reservoir, and also this amount of water is released at safe rate whenever there is a reduction in the flood levels. So that is the purpose of flood control reservoir. So this flood control is again divided into two types. One is the retarding reservoir and the second one is retention reservoir. So in the major difference between retarding as well as retention reservoir is spillways as well as sluiceways are provided in both the reservoirs, but there are no gates are provided in retarding reservoir, gates are not provided in retarding reservoir, and gates are provided in the retention reservoir. The retention reservoir will store a particular amount of water whenever there is a high supply because of the provision of gates provided in the spillways as well as in the sluiceways. Whereas this particular facility is not available in the retarding reservoir, because the retarding reservoir will only retard the water. It will stop some portion of water. Heavy flood is retarded, but it will not store the amount of water which is required which is collected during the high floods. So that is the major difference between retarding reservoir as well as retention reservoir. In a similar fashion, we have also discussed what is a multi-purpose reservoir. Multi-purpose reservoir is nothing but it will serve more than one purpose. A reservoir which, let us take an example of one dam is constructed, behind that a reservoir is formed. So that particular reservoir is helpful for different purposes. So water stored in that particular reservoir, let us assume that it is used for generation of hydroelectric power. In a similar fashion, the same water stored is used for the irrigation of land on the downstream side of that particular reservoir. That is the second advantage, second purpose of that reservoir. Coming to the third purpose, whatever the downstream lands are there, those lands are protected whenever there is a high floods, because the amount of water during high floods will be collected by the reservoir, and this amount of water will be released at safe rate through the spillways. So because of this facility, what happens? The downstream lands are completely protected with the floods. So three purposes are served with respect to one reservoir. So such kind of reservoirs are called as multi-purpose reservoirs. So coming to the last type, distribution reservoir. So what is the distribution reservoir? It is nothing but to serve or distribute the water, stored water. For example, if you take an example of a city. In a city, there are so many different situations occur. Means whenever there is an emergency situation occur in a city, what happens? The same amount of water, some amount of water is required. In a similar fashion, the hourly demand of a day, water consumption of a day in a city is completely varying from time to time. So to meet these requirements and to supply whenever there is an emergency situation occur, so this stored amount of water will be distributed from the reservoir. So the exclusive purpose of this kind of reservoir is to store the water and distribute as and when required. So that is the advantage. So there are four different types of reservoirs that we have discussed already, and also we have discussed what is the selection criteria of a site for constructing a reservoir, for forming a reservoir. In those there are so many different types of reservoirs, so many types of criteria are there, so many points we have to meet. So like geological conditions of that particular site, topography of the site, and the basic reservoir basin should have a narrow opening so that the length of the dam must be very less, and also cost of the project must be as less as possible, because if we miss one particular point, one particular condition, one particular criteria, then what happens? The cost of the construction will always be increasing. So cost is very important factor. And also we can identify different types of materials available near the site selection. So these are the different points to be considered in the selection of a site. Now moving on to the next slide, one is zones of storage. Zones of storage. So coming to the reservoir, there is amount of water stored in the reservoir, but this particular amount of water will be categorized into different portions. So based on the zones of storage, what we can do is we can categorize them in different points. For example, if you see useful storage, or else it may be called as live storage also. The second one is dead storage, and the third one is surcharge storage, and the next one is valley storage and bank storage. Now we will discuss each one of them, what are they actually mean. Coming to the useful storage, first one, useful storage. This useful storage is nothing but it is the quantity or volume of water available in the reservoir between the levels. If you see the level of the reservoir, we have a full reservoir level as well as minimum reservoir level. So the volume of water stored between full reservoir level and minimum reservoir level is considered as your useful storage or live storage. Okay. Now coming to the dead storage. The second one, dead storage. The dead storage is considered as the amount of water or the volume of water which is available less than the minimum pool level or minimum reservoir level. So that amount of water or that volume of water is considered as your dead storage. Coming to the third category, which is surcharge storage. Surcharge storage is nothing but the quantity of water or volume of water between maximum reservoir level during high floods and the full reservoir level. So that is the amount of water stored between full reservoir level and maximum reservoir level during high floods is considered as your surcharge storage. So this particular amount of water will be going out from the spillways. These are excess amount of water which is going out of spillways. Okay. Next, coming to the next one, valley storage. Valley storage is nothing but it is the amount of water which is actually stored by a natural valley before construction of a reservoir. Before construction of a reservoir, what is the capacity of the valley? So that is considered as the valley storage. Now coming to the last one, which is bank storage. Bank storage is nothing but it is the amount of water which is stored in the banks of a reservoir as well as on the pores of the soil of the reservoir site bed. So including all this, whatever the amount of water stored in the banks and pores of soil bed is considered as your bank storage. So this bank storage is very less compared to the remaining all types of storages. Okay, so this is about different zones of storage. Now let us have a picture of storage. Now here you can observe what is the picture of different zones of a reservoir. Now here you can see the maximum reservoir level or maximum water level, and the next one full reservoir level, and below that you can see what is useful or live storage, and below that you can see what is the minimum pool level, and the next one we have dead storage. So these are the different zones of storage. So coming to the full reservoir level or maximum reservoir level. Maximum reservoir level is possible whenever there is a high floods. So the uppermost layer is your maximum reservoir level during the floods. Now below that we have full reservoir level, which is up to the crest level. The next one is below the full reservoir level, and between the minimum pool level is your live storage or useful storage. So below the minimum pool level, that is considered as your dead storage. So this particular dead storage is provided based on the purpose, which is formation of silt. Because whenever there is a heavy carrier of silt to the reservoir, so what happens? The capacity of the reservoir, volume of reservoir is going to be reduced. So because of that, what happens? The storage capacity of reservoir will be reduced. So due to that, what happens? During the planning of the reservoir, this dead storage is provided apart from the reservoir levels. So this purpose of this dead storage is to collect the silt level, and as and when required, the dead storage, from the dead storage the silt may be removed. So that is the purpose we are giving. While planning itself, we are providing this dead storage. Now this is the pictorial view of different zones of a reservoir. Now moving on to the next slide. Now one more important topic is reservoir yield. What is the meaning of reservoir yield? What is the definition of yield? Yield is nothing but it is the amount of water or the maximum amount of water that can be supplied from a reservoir in a specified interval of time for different purposes. I repeat again, it is the amount of water required for amount of water supplied during a specified interval of time from a reservoir is considered as your yield. Right? Now let us take an example of this particular yield. Now let us assume we have supplied a 35,000 cubic meters of water in a particular year. So that happens, what is the reservoir yield or yield of a reservoir? It is nothing but 3.5 hectometers per year is the yield of the particular reservoir. So this yield is dependent on the capacity of the reservoir from 1 day to a maximum of 1 year. Because a small reservoir which is having less capacity, for such type of reservoirs, the yield may be calculated 1 day. On one day, this much amount of water is supplied. For a large conservation reservoir, it may take up to 1 year. Means we may calculate yield for 1 year for a large conservation reservoirs. Again, we have different types of yields based on the amount of water available. Right? Coming to the first one, that is safe or firm yield. The safe or firm yield is nothing but it is the amount of water, the maximum amount of water a reservoir can be supplied whenever there is a dry period. Means there is whenever there is no inflow to the reservoir, but even after those conditions, the reservoir is able to supply a maximum amount of water for different purposes, which is considered as safe yield or firm yield. Okay. Now the second category is secondary yield. Secondary yield is nothing but it is the maximum amount of water which can be supplied, which can be available, which is available during the heavy floods. Means secondary yield is nothing but it is the excess amount of water available than the safe yield. Means we have already safe yield, maximum quantity of water available in the reservoir, but during heavy floods, what happens? The water level is increased. Means we have excess water level than the safe yield. So this particular available water is called as your secondary yield. So as and when required, apart from the safe yield, we can also use the secondary yield water. So that is about secondary yield. Now coming to the third type, which is average yield. This average yield is nothing but the arithmetic sum of arithmetic mean of firm yield or safe yield and this secondary yield over a long period is considered as your average yield. It is the summation of safe yield and the secondary yield. Now I think you understood what is a safe yield, what is the different types of yields, what is secondary yield, what is average yield. what is average yield. Okay. Now let us move on to the next slide before conclusion. Here the last topic of today's session. What is a mass inflow curve? What is the purpose of this mass inflow curve? Here you can see there are two different pictorial graphs. What they indicate. Now coming to the mass inflow curve. Mass inflow curve is the inflow of accumulated or cumulative inflow of water in a reservoir with respect to time. So this mass inflow curve is plotted from the unit hydrograph which is prepared for several years. Now if we see the first picture which represents the unit hydrograph, whereas the second picture represents the mass inflow curve. See, if you see in the first picture, this particular unit hydrograph represents discharge with respect to time. On the vertical axis you can see the discharge, on the x-axis you can see with respect to time what is the discharge of inflow to the reservoir. Whereas in the second figure you can see what is the accumulated inflow with respect to time. Now here you can see the difference between these two graphs. This graph is continuously fluctuating, whereas the mass inflow curve is continuously rising. That is because of the second graph is accumulated values of the first graph. That is, mass inflow curve is prepared based on the hydrograph, unit hydrograph. So that is the reason there is a continuous rise in the mass inflow curve. Now let us take an example of how a mass inflow curve is prepared as well as mass demand curve is prepared. Now in the first figure there is a hatched portion from 1957 to 1960. So in this particular figure, let us assume the base year as 1957 and we are calculating a 3 years data which is 1957 to 1960. So this total portion is hatched. 3 years inflow values are hatched in the unit hydrograph. So this particular area, hatched area, is indicated by the ordinate AB. Ordinate AB in the mass inflow curve means this ordinate AB will represent the total area of hatched area, means whatever the volume of water which is there in the hatched area, that amount of volume will be indicated by the ordinate AB. Means this particular AB is equal to the hatched portion. Okay, right? Now I am concluding this particular topic. One thing is the mass inflow curve is accumulated values graph, because of that there is a continuous rise in the graph. So this rise will indicate what happens. There is a high flow, means wherever there is a high flow to the reservoir, then there will be a continuous sharp rise in the mass inflow curve. Suppose let us assume whenever there is no inflow to the reservoir, then what happens? This curve will be flat, means there will not be any rise in the curve, it will be flat. So these things you have to remember. Now I am concluding the things for today. Now in the next class we will again discuss in detail about what is mass inflow curve. Thank you for watching. Thank you.